Learning a language in today's world is an overcomplicated disaster. It is an absolute mess of competing information, and today we are going to simplify that by showing you exactly what I have done in order to move up from beginner, intermediate, and advanced in every single language that I speak, and to show you that there is not a perfect method, but that there is something that you can customize for yourself that will allow you specifically, to speak and communicate. As a beginner, you're going to absolutely be overwhelmed with the amount of nonsense that is out there. If you type in how to learn a language, you are going to sit there for the next 40 years of your life trying to sift through information, all of it which tells you this is wrong, that's wrong, this is right, use this app, and then the Duolingo is going to come in and try and get you to use their app. Sucks, because Duolingo sucks. It's the most popular app, but it sucks. And people get mad in the comments. Why you keep talking on Duolingo, man? Just talk about your own method. Because there's 500 million people. 500 million people using it. 133 million monthly users, and it's that's why. That's why, because I think that those people are wasting their time, and I think that their time would be better served on doing exactly what we're talking about today. You as a beginner have no need for being stuck on your phones all over these apps trying to figure out what the best new grammar thing and learning the most random sentence. Everything that you need to learn is going to be dealt with what you care about. What do you care about? What are you going to see? All right. In order for you to learn a whole bunch of new words, you need to see them in a whole bunch of different contexts. All right. I won't go into the unnecessary research on how many times specifically, but there are linguists and scientists out there that know exactly how many times you need to see a word before they think it is going to get etched into your long-term memory. All right. And so that app is not specifically going to do that. What you need to do is always create this stuff for yourself. Comprehensible input, we know, I've said it a million times, it's a giant buzzword. Some people want to use comprehensible input only, right? And so, no, I think that you can use it up into a certain point, and then, yeah, it's just like anything else. You can put a whole lot of energy into something. At a certain point, you're going to hit a plateau and a limit, and you're going to need to start to do something different. So comprehensible input, for those of you that don't know, essentially means that you need to, when you are taking input, when you are learning the language, when you are listening, watching, all right, you need to make sure that what you are hearing is comprehensible to you. And this gets confused a whole lot because some people just try and say, I can catch this word, I heard that word. No, we want you to get the context and understand. I talk about this all the time. The ethos at GOLUREMI Languages, at our company, and for the people that are engaged in artificial immersion, which is our method, you have to understand the ethos, which is seek to understand and seek to be understood, which means that your whole goal at the beginning is just to communicate. That's it. How can I communicate what I want to say, and can I grasp the idea of what is trying to be said to me? That's enough for you to get a stepping stone to get to the intermediate level. And so what that looks like on a more concrete basis is that at minimum of an hour. And I just say this because I know I can't classify you. I can't separate this video into people who are beginners and intermediate, and people who have disciplined lives and undisciplined lives, and people who can concentrate and people who can't. All right. And so I tell you the minimum, which is at a minimum, you should be getting in an hour or 90 minutes of input if you are a beginner. In my most ideal world, you are getting in something between 4 and 6 hours a day. I know that's not going to be possible for the majority of people, but that's what I want. If you want to move as fast as you possibly can, somewhere around there is going to be the right mix. All right. So the more you put in, the more you will get out. But as a beginner, input is going to be your best friend. Should you be speaking immediately from day one and trying to talk? Yes and no, right? If you don't speak the language, you shouldn't be talking. You cannot speak. If you've never heard the language before, you're not going to be able to speak the language. You obviously know that you need to hear and take some of that input in and get an understanding, and then you'll be able to speak, all right? And then you'll be able to repeat and imitate, because that's a lot of what you're going to be doing at the beginning. That input and those phrases and those things that you hear, you're going to want to use those when you feel it's the same context. If you see someone get pushed and they say, stop, or you see someone get pushed and say, I'm going to hit you, right? All those things you're going to know in that same instance and context. When someone's pushing, you're going to say, stop. It's just going to come out of you because you understand the context. And so the meaning of the word immediately clicks in your head. You don't have to remember. You don't have to memorize. That's what you're going for as a beginner. Now, with speaking, one of the best things that you can do, and something that I did and I still agree with even before I had been let's say, even at the intermediate stage of my journey in language learning, is that I memorized a few phrases. Now that is where I would. And the only reason that I would do this is because I use that as a key in order to get more input. Because if I know this phrase, and I know this phrase well, what are you doing? How are you? I know more or less what you're going to say. If I ask you how your day is going and you say sharks, my brain doesn't compute. That's not going to be the answer. And so by learning those phrases, the ones that are specific, where's the bathroom? I'm hungry. You know it's going to deal with this stuff, right? And I'm not talking about trying to memorize 100 phrases. I'm talking about 5 to 10 and then trying to get a good understanding, right? So you could almost predict what's going to happen in those phrases. You've been on Earth. You're a human. You understand if I ask, where's the bathroom? You're going to say left or right or straight, behind me, over there, that door. You can start to figure out some of the vocab that is going on that you may need, and that's huge, all right? And so as far as speaking, I think input goes first, and that means that 70–80% of your time needs to be spent on input, all right? When you're trying to regurgitate things, the best way for you to do this, and people don't like this as much, guys, I think we talked about Schliemann. We talked about ways for people to get that output going, and writing is a huge way to do this. It's annoying because we don't want to do it. We would rather type or be on our phones or whatever it is, but if you can get that tactile sensation, right? Now, when you have read something or watched something and then written exactly what it is, because Schliemann would write essays on things that he was interested in, which is also an amazing thing to do, but then he would get that checked later on. He would have someone else check his work, a native speaker, and then he would then memorize that new essay, right? I'm not asking you guys to do all of that. What I want you to do at the very minimum is whatever it is that you read, whatever it is that you've watched or listened to on your podcast and all that stuff, say it in your own words. You can then go to ChatGPT and say, would a native speaker say this? Even better if you have a tutor and somebody that you're working with specifically and say, here's what I wrote. And they will look at that and then they will write that in their words based off of what you said. And you have a better understanding of how you would say it, because that's the whole point. We need you to say things how you would say them and learn as if you were already speaking that language. We don't want this to be foreign. We're just taking English or whatever it is that your mother tongue is, and then we're just going to imprint this new language on top of it. Knowing, of course, that you can never make really literal translations. It doesn't really work because languages are from different cultures, countries, places, different times. You cannot look to translate, and this is something that's huge for most Americans. Most people that are outside of America, the UK, for the most part, most people that don't have their mother tongue as English are well aware that you cannot directly translate things because they have other cultures and languages right around them, or they're bilingual, or they've at least have some exposure. It just doesn't work like that, all right? And so for my American friends, if you're watching this, don't try to make things fit into American English as you try to learn this other language. Drop American English, let it be its thing, and let this be, if you're, la mano. And that's it, it's just la mano. Moving on to the intermediate stage. Now, I've already told you what your beginner time should look like. Like I said, 60 to 90 minutes with you doing at least an hour of input and then spending the rest of that time trying to do some output. Of course, you can speak. That's also a great way to do it. It's just writing makes you concrete, makes you know. You have to understand. You can mumble when you're speaking, all right? When you're writing, you have to be sure. You might not have the spelling correct, but you know what you're trying to say. During the intermediate stage is where also, if you haven't done it, and I know it's another thing that people hate on, which is of course reading, which is a huge way for you to pick up a whole lot of vocab really quick. And what I'm giving you today are the ways in which I think you could do this the fastest. If you want to listen to podcasts and watch videos and do all these things, of course, that is going to help, right? Being in the real world and being immersed in your language learning in a place where people are speaking this is going to be one of the best things that you can do. If you're actively, constantly, always trying to do it, that is the best. It is going to be the best. If you yourself are having to understand what you're taking in and then regurgitate that in some form or tell people what it is that you need. It is still the ultimate. Immersion doesn't work for everybody in the sense that some people, when they get in immersion, they have anxiety or it's too much or they need things slowed down and stuff like that. That's true. But for the most part, this is going to be the best thing for you. So once you hit that intermediate level, if you can up your reading, and we're talking about extensive reading, which I've talked about on the channel before, your ability to read just for the pleasure of reading. All right, and the research is clear on that. You may need to read a whole ton, not may need to. You're gonna need to read a lot for a long period of time. And you need to read books. I've already talked about graded readers. I don't wanna go over this too much. again, but those are the type of books that are made for you as a learner. When you hit that intermediate phase, that is going to be one of the biggest, toughest bumps for you to get over and up, because you will plateau after that intermediate stage. Reading in depth will allow you to do that. More extensive reading than intensive reading, which would be you trying to look up those words. So if you can do that, once you hit this stage, and then up the amount that you are now trying to speak, because it's at the intermediate stage that I really feel your output should start to be, you need to start trying to express yourself. You can get away with it at the beginner phase and really just in all of the language learning, but you have to start speaking and trying to convey things. And that's gonna be, it's so annoying. And I've talked about the autolog. It's something that we have and put together in our artificial immersion course, which essentially takes you through what you need to do from day 1 to day 30 of your language learning. It's a meta learning course that also has the ability for you to dive into Spanish, French, Italian, German, whole bunch of stuff. Link is right down below if you guys are interested, all right? But speaking is the name of the game, and you have to make sure that your tutor is doing something with you that has you aimed towards a goal. If you remember at the very beginning of this video, I was getting annoyed at the fact that Duolingo does not really set you up for success because it's not interested in what you want. It doesn't care. Like I told you, there's 500 million people. Who are you, right? I don't care about you. Just give me the Duolingo premium, just pay for that, and then shut up and go back and then chase hearts and streaks, all right? I don't care about you, all right? But so you care about you. And what you care about is where you should be aiming as a language learner. And that's exactly how you're going to have success. And so at this intermediate stage, at the very least, you should be finding out what that book is. If there's a graded reader for Harry Potter, if they can dumb down the vocabulary for you, that you can go read it. Like I showed in our reading books that Count of Monte Cristo is one of my favorite books. You can read the dumbed down version. I don't need to read this 19th century book with archaic French in it. I can read something where the author has decided to make sure that I can understand so that I can build on my vocab, all right? So as an intermediate, that is everything that you are going to need. Now, it's not to say that you're not still gonna need to do the beginner stuff. It's at this stage right here that you're also gonna need to hit up that grammar. You're gonna need to make sure that you are actually making sure that you're saying things correctly now because you have some form of pattern recognition. I didn't want you to do that at the beginning stage. We request people to just get a general understanding of how things are conjugated, what's kind of happening, what kind of language is it, you know? That's the type of stuff you need at the beginning. But at the beginning, you just need to make a whole bunch of mistakes. Let it go. Communicate. And you're gonna say things wrong. You will continue to say things wrong to the intermediate. You will continue up into the advanced stage. You are always gonna be wrong. It's not your language. Who cares? Get over it, all right? And so those mistakes and those things are really important as a beginner so that way you can start to recognize them as an intermediate. And here's where you start to worry about grammar. And don't just get a grammar book and try and think you're gonna study it from one end to another, all right? You have to really chunk down time when you're trying to do grammar, all right? You have to say, okay, well, these adjectives, these verbs, I'm gonna work on these right now. That'll give you a little bit of time and you've gotta drop it because you can get people who will get up to the intermediate stage and they will spend 2 hours, they'll stop doing input, they'll stop speaking, they'll focus everything they can do on this because that's the way they studied and that's the way their brain worked in school, is to hyper-focus on this, and then for the next 2 weeks they'll be studying some obscure grammar rule. All the meanwhile losing all of their input and losing all of their output time, not wanting to talk to the tutor, trying to figure this out. No, let your supercomputer, the brain that you have, sort out the pattern and it's gonna do just fine. You have all of this. You have it in your mother tongue. You picked it up by continually seeing and continually hearing, continually correcting yourself as you went on. All right, feedback loops, I talked about that in our recent video. You have to create those feedback loops for you. You won't get that in an app. You will not get that. And even if you're using ChatGPT and these AI, things, they're usually, when you say something to an AI tutor, it goes, great job, and then you go blah, blah, blah. No, you sound stupid. We sound stupid. We don't speak that language. How are you you sound stupid. We all sound stupid when we start. The AI tutor should say, no, that was stupid. That sounds awful, but you're gonna get better. So it's all good, right? And then they should, correct, or you hear, and you have a flow to this. My whole thing on AI tutors, you guys can go check that out on our main language channel.
How many times have you spoken in English over the past month?
Actually, I didn't.
So how do you expect to speak fluently?
I not have anyone to practice with.
Just download Laura. We'll speak together daily.
And I just trash them for what they are. And also they're dead. Their dead look on this. We really want robots. They got robots running marathons and stuff like this now.
What are we doing? Do we want this? I don't want it.
I don't want a chip in my head. Why would I want a chip in my head? Do you want your friend to just, imagine this, you guys, what? Now, dealing with the advanced stage is also one of those biggest bumps, and for me, also one of the hardest, because you have to make a decision here. And the beginner to the intermediate, you know you want to do it. When you're trying to get an intermediate to advanced and properly now over that hump, you have to make a decision. You can't just haphazardly get up there to the upper level. You have to want to do it. Now, you have way more momentum and you're able to function in everyday society, but in order for you to get up there, it requires effort. And an effort that means that you're going to have to not only read things that are deeper, all right, and you're gonna have to spend more time, but you're also gonna have to look to convey things. Generally speaking, it's great to do it with writing. It's great to do it with speaking also, but it's great, really, really, really impressive to do in writing because it makes things concrete, all right? And so if you're a person who is out there trying to figure out, I've never gotten to this advanced stage, your whole goal right now is to get to the intermediate stage. Your whole goal is to make it to somewhere in this B1, B2 area with which you can get rusty in a language, but then again, you will never truly forget. That's the goal for most people. Not everybody needs to be an incredible scholar giving speeches in front of everybody in their target language. It's just probably not necessary. And to be honest, most of you out there don't want to do that. You want to be able to walk around like you walk around now. Go to the store, do what you're doing, hang out with friends, and talk. Talk about what you see and what you do, what you're thinking. Right? You're not necessarily looking to become the next great author in your target language. All right? And so I'll probably make a different video, to be perfectly honest, to talk about the advanced, because this video has gone on way too long at this point. And as always, I just feel like I'm screaming into I just feel like a crazy person. Can we just end this video? There's other stuff going on. Go check out our other channel if you've never seen that, if you're still around. So if you're curious, does this guy actually speak these languages or is he a fake polyglot? You can go check all that out on the other channel. Like I said, we'll get into the fake polyglots and those people at some point. But if you're interested, of course, in learning, if you want to check out all that stuff, go right down below. The intense course, we have incredible, absolutely incredible tutors for our intense stuff. Once again, it's not for everybody. You've got 45 days, 75 day, 120 day, and that's the sprint that you start off on, and that takes you through a year of learning. Now, it's expensive for most people, completely understandable, but the people who get in are the ones that I know and that we have shown all do it. Why do these people finally get to a point of trying to with the language and then finally set up and do it, and then we help you customize. You have the tutor who's customized. Everything is aimed at one direction, structure. You need structure, all right? And so if you don't want to get into that and do something intense, check out our first course. If not, all the free stuff, sign up for our email, all right? I'm just trying to make sure that everybody here doesn't waste their time with a stupid app, 500 million freaking users, people thinking they're gonna learn, not gonna learn shit.